Hi campers, welcome back to Camp Create National Park. Today we're going to be working on earning our Wonder Skies badge. Our project today is based upon the heavens, and our verse for today is Psalm 19:1. It says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork." So for today's project, you're going to need some paper. I have watercolor paper, but you can use cardstock if that's all you have. We're going to need some crayons in your color scheme of choice, some watercolor paints, a paintbrush, and some water, and of course our Camp Create badges. You can see I already cut out day 1, so today we'll cut out day 2 and attach it right here on our board. So before we start today's project, I want you to think about the skies. Think about sunset and sunrise, think about the nighttime and how the sky looks. What's your favorite time of day? My project is obviously based on the nighttime, but not a realistic color scheme of the nighttime. So you can make your project however you feel inspired. So now that we know what we're making and what we need, let's skip to the good part and make some art. Today's project is what we call a watercolor resist, and we're going to use crayons to draw our picture, and then when we paint the watercolor over top, it's going to resist the areas where we did our crayon. So in my example here, you can see I drew some clouds and stars and the moon with my crayon and then watercolor painted over it. But like I said, maybe you want to do a sunset or a sunrise or maybe even a galaxy. So this is the part where you get to make whatever you want. For mine, I'm going to start with my pink crayon, and down here at the bottom, I'm going to draw my clouds. I'm pressing pretty hard with my crayon to make sure there's a good layer of crayon on my paper, because that's what the watercolor is going to resist in the painting. You can also do this with a white crayon, and that's kind of fun because you can't really see what you've drawn until after you paint on the watercolor. Okay, now I'm going to take my second crayon, which is purple, and I'm going to draw a big crescent moon right in the middle of my page. If you're also drawing a crescent moon, an easy way to do it is draw a backward C and then connect it with another backward C. Kind of like that. I'm going to go ahead and color in my moon. Go ahead and add some little stars while I'm here. I'm going to put those all over my page. And now in the very top part of my page, I'm going to add blue. So same thing, I'm just going to add some little stars and some things all around my page. Adding in my third color. Okay, for the painting portion, I could go 2 ways. I could color this part pink, this part purple, and this part blue, or I can do opposing colors and give it a little bit more contrast. So in the blue section, maybe I painted pink. In the purple section, I painted blue, and in the pink section, I painted purple. Does that make sense? Let's get started and we'll see how it turns out. So I've got my paintbrush ready to go, and I'm going to activate my watercolors. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to pick a purple color from my palette. This one's a little bit dirty. So if your watercolors ever get dirty, you can put the paint on your brush and then just wipe it on a paper towel, or take your paper towel and dab directly on that watercolor pan and it'll pick up that other color. So since I just dried my paint, I'm going to get it wet again, and I'm going to paint everywhere I put my pink crayon. And you can kind of see it resists that color a little bit. See how it beads up right there? Can you see that? I'm gonna get a little crazy and add in another purple just to make it a little bit more interesting. So you can see my watercolor doesn't stick where the waxy crayon is. It's okay if your watercolor gets a little bit above the line because it's all gonna blend together in the end. So if you're making a sunset, maybe you're using pinks and oranges and yellows, or a galaxy, maybe a dark blue and a black. For my rest of my page, I'm going to blend my two colors together. So I'm gonna do the blue here and the pink at the very top, and I wanna make sure that those have a nice gradient between them. So to do that, I can get my paper just a little bit wet. I don't want it dripping wet, just a little, so those colors will run together. So let's start with blue. You can see it runs into the water there. I'm doing the top half of my page, or of my section first, because I want that to blend really nicely with my pink. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that first, and I'll come back to this part in a second. I'm gonna wash my brush, and now I'm gonna grab a pink color. Let's try this one. And if you have a small watercolor palette that doesn't have a lot of colors, that is okay. You can either use the colors you have, or you can use the top part of your tray on your watercolor palette to mix colors. So I'm gonna keep going and see how my pink and my blue are kind of meshing together. You definitely wanna make sure you pick complementary colors, colors that mix well together. So pink, I know pink and blue make purple because red and blue make purple. And pink is just a tint of red. So I'm gonna fill this in. And you can see my watercolor kind of beads up on top of where I have my crayon. I'm gonna add a little bit of a different shade of pink like I did at the bottom, because this is like a nighttime fantasy sky, so I want it to look very whimsical and pretty. Now I'm going to come back to my blue section and add my blue in the rest of the way, going around my clouds. And you can see my color kind of ran all the way down. That's okay. If you don't want your colors to run together, then make sure it's completely dry. You can use a paper towel, or just let it air dry, or even the blow dryer. And make sure it's completely dry before you add in your other color, otherwise they will mix together. One added step that you can do that I didn't mention previously is you can add some white paint over the top, and I'll show you how. So this is just white tempera paint from Prang. So what I'm gonna do, I put some papers down so I don't get paint everywhere, but I have a little bit of white paint in the lid of my paint bottle, and I'm gonna dip my paintbrush in, and then I'm very gently gonna tap my paintbrush over my finger and create what will look like little stars. If you don't want a big blob, definitely do it to the side first before you do it on your project. You just tap it all over, and it'll add little stars to your night sky. You could also use a white marker, like a gel pen or a paint pen, if you have that, to add white stars to your sky as well, if you don't have tempera paint. Definitely not a necessary step, but a fun one for sure. This project was a quick one, but you know what that means? Now you have time to make even more. So if you make it and you love it, try it another way, or if you make it and you don't love it, just try again. Before we go, let's make sure we add today's badge to our board. And just like that, we're ready for day 3. Thank you so much for joining me at Camp Create National Park today. Tomorrow, when you come back, we'll be going on a texture trek. So go outside, enjoy God's creation, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.